Nope. Get over here. Oh, I'm trying to click the buttons, Blue. Where you going? Oh, okay. He got away. He got away.
It's all good.
Oh, man.
Hey,
You can see him.
hey. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You should see behind the scenes, guys. Welcome aboard to another Thursday, another BluXPerience. We had a special guest, and just like that, he was gone.
There
Oh
he
my
is.
word. There he
There
is
he
in the
is. Come here.
background right there. What's going on, people? It's XP, it's Blue Games. Welcome aboard to a Thursday, another exciting episode of the BluXPerience. We're trying to get this guest on here, but he's like refusing at this point. He's getting pissed.
He does
He
not
didn't want to
want
stay.
it today. He does not want to
No,
have it.
he does not want to have it for the camera.
Right?
It's so cute, though. Look at that. Oh man, bro, you're so cute. Ridiculous. Blue, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show. What's going on, brother?
Yes. What's going on, my
Oh,
friends?
oh man.
Welcome back to the BluXPerience, and we are here with the original Blue. Okay, you
Mhm.
can go now. You can
There you
go.
go.
You can go.
Yep,
Go sit down somewhere. That was our
I
special
know.
guest today, but he ditched on us. So it's just us, man.
Stage fright. Man, he doesn't want to deal with what's about to come today, man. That's what it is. He doesn't want to face the music. His first name is Micro and his last name is Soft. No.
Yes.
Wow. Guys, we have an episode for you today.
Oh
We
yeah.
figure it's about time we did this. It's the 1 year anniversary, 1 year and some months, maybe, or 1 year, and I'm not even sure exactly, to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 dropping on us. I remember it clear as yesterday when they dropped the first intro trailer,
Oh
and
yeah.
we were like, oh my word, what is about to go down in the flight sim community? And here we are,
Here we
1 year
are.
later. So we
I
have to do this recap and see where we are.
I remember just a bit quick flashback, and I'm curious of
Mm-hmm.
how you felt and people in the community how they felt. But I remember coming. I was actually in the hotel, the final night of the hotel at Flight Sim Expo in Orlando in 2019, and the as Flight Sim Expo was winding down, the E3 conference, I think it was the E3 conference, was just kicking off. And on the first day, I believe, Microsoft Flight Simulator and the Microsoft team of Sobo announced that first trailer. Oh man, I remember freaking the heck out, man. It was nuts, man. And I remember making a reaction video to it, stuff like that, and and so on. And but yeah, so now leading up to a whole year and some probably a month or so after the release, of it actually coming out, which actually makes it 2 years ago, because 2 years ago was when we first discovered it was going to happen, and we
Right.
started getting excited and the hype started to build up. But then a year ago, we actually got our hands on it on the PC version. And so now a year from that time and 2 years from the original look of it, it's like, man, uh, are we disappointed? Are we satisfied? I know the answers to a lot of these questions already, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what today's episode's about: is what is Microsoft Flight Simulator today? How are we feeling about it today? How are we feeling about the future of it? And how are we feeling about what we've gotten in the last 365 plus days?
Yep. Absolutely, man. I remember being awestruck at the cinematic of it with the birds flying,
Oh man.
with the airplane over the water, and I was like, no way they're going to be able to do this. They can't deliver on this. Are you kidding me? And here we are to discuss it and see what we actually got based on what we've seen. I know some of you guys have memories of this stuff. So, Mama Shark says it's 1 year and 2 months. I remember because Gia was trying to stream at the hospital right after I gave birth. I remember that. It's
I
true.
I remember that.
Yeah, it is true. He's trying to download it. My Mama Shark's in the hospital giving birth to Air Force Two. So, yeah, it's true, man. But there's a lot to talk about, and I'm kind of breaking it down into some lists that we're going to go over some stuff today to see where we are, because it's so much, it's so much behind the scenes of what Microsoft is doing. There's so much that they're releasing. There's so much that they want to accomplish. And I have some thoughts about that. And as far as, because what I'm discovering with Microsoft just in general is that with Microsoft Flight Sim in general is that I believe that us streamers, streaming airliners, in the airline category is a small niche compared to the other folks that they're trying to target as well, or are targeting more than us,
Hmm.
if you know what I mean. And you'll see when we start naming off some of the things that they have come out with since, and you determine where they have targeted this stuff to. But let's jump on the first one though. Um, Performance. I remember when it came out, I had my 1070 at the time,
Yep.
1070 Ti, and I'm going, man, compared to what we had previously, this thing is going to be a hog as far as graphics is concerned. And sure enough, when it dropped, man, my PC was like screaming and crying, like, bro, please. I literally, I first I tried ultra, that didn't work. I
Oh boy.
tried high, that didn't work.
Oh
And then I
boy.
tried medium. And I settled on medium, but with still stutters. That's when it just dropped. What about you? How
I
did you?
again kind of just flashing back in my head to when it first was, not only first released, but when it was just first announced, all that kind of. I mean, thankfully I had the opportunity to be in the alpha when that happened.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
I remember for me on my machine, it worked pretty good, right? I kind of knew the limitations, kind of like with X Plane. I'm not gonna talk too much about X Plane today, but just in the flight sim, I kind of know my expectations and my limitations. So like areas that I can't fly in, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna fly a 747 in the JFK on my system because I know it comes in 50 FPS, 15 FPS, right? And so, but that's how it was when it first came out. But it was just kind of like chugging along. I got a lot of feedback from people in the community saying that they could not handle it. Like their system couldn't manage it. Like some people could actually run X-Plane 11 better than they could run Microsoft Flight Simulator, which was actually surprising to me because I thought that with Microsoft Flight Simulator coming out, that it was going to basically be the answer to all of our problems, right? That was kind of the picture. Not that they were particularly trying to paint for us, but I guess the expectation that the community kind of had of Microsoft Flight Simulator. We had our disappointments, our hurdles we were trying to jump over for our current flight sims like P3D and X-Plane, and we were hoping that when Microsoft came out that it would kind of fix all those things. And performance was a big thing. We were like, all right, well, this is going to come out on a console at some point in the future too. And in order to work on a console, it's going to have to be optimized really well, right? So I'm thinking, my first thought was like, man, this is going to run like amazing on my system. But again, I still had some of the same limitations. I wasn't running very high frames. I think I was running on like medium or high on my 1080 Ti, which is pretty good, but still, some people just weren't able to handle it. But right now, since Sim Update 5, I know I doubled my FPS. So over a year later, now they've come out with the actual console release and the update that really boosts our performance. Doubled my FPS on Sim Update 5. Sim Update 6 just came out. Haven't personally got a chance to run it yet, but I'm hearing so far. I'm curious to know if you got a chance to test it, but I'm hearing so far that it also didn't double, wasn't as dramatic as Sim Update 5, but it did actually help on performance a little bit.
Yeah, I have to say +1 in the Microsoft Flight Sim column for definitely boosting performance.
Yeah.
You could see it from the first time it came out, where it was like a slideshow for me. I was able to tune it a little bit, with my 1070 Ti graphics card and get it usable, where I was able to do some flights and be satisfied enough with it. Not 100% satisfied, but, I'm like this. I see what they're giving me visually, and I know that's got to cost some. It's got
Oh
to cost
yeah.
either CPU or GPU, right? And it did. And so I was like, okay, but they did when they dropped 5. That was the dramatic increase we saw in 5. Now there was controversy over it because people are saying that the graphics didn't look as good anymore, like when they just dropped it. It's almost like they're like, you know what? We showed you this promo trailer. We better make sure it looks like this when the game comes out, regardless if it's going to stutter or not. And maybe only 20% of you guys are going to be able to actually get this particular performance on it, with a beasting PC.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward, how many people updated their PC just because of Microsoft Flight Sim? Because I know I did. But the performance is there, even on a medium end PC, and maybe not it doesn't look as good, but I got to give them kudos. +1 in their column for that, man. Absolutely, I have to.
I will
Definitely.
say that when that update came out, Sim Update 5, you actually called it. You're the first person that I heard call it out, saying that you thought and believed that they actually lowered the resolution of the ground textures and a lot of the textures in the game in order to get that boost. And we later on found out that that was actually true, which was crazy. I was like, why would they lower the quality of things? And this was controversial because Xbox was also coming out at that same time. Like, how are you going to take I mean, yeah, we have complaints about the sim and the performance, but how are you going to take our sim, right, that you've given us, you've been working on, mainly for people who have high end machines, and then when console comes out, you dumb it down, give us better frames, making us think we're happy, but then we're not getting the best quality, right? So it was like, what's going on here? And so I think obviously the community freaking yelled out loud, like, yo, this is not cool. Mainly the people, again, who have the $5,000 PCs. People who
Yep.
at the lower end, they're like, oh, I don't see a difference. Like me, I was like, what? I don't see a difference. It looks the same to me. But people who are trying to run, the max settings, things like that, they saw a dramatic difference. And I will say, shortly after that, there was a hot fix, I believe, that did actually fix that, or at least adjust it, to give you
Yeah.
the ability to actually change it to however high or low quality you want it to be.
Yeah, true. So I'm gonna definitely give him a plus for that. A
Yep.
year later, the performance is definitely better, and the visuals are good enough to convince me that this thing looks freaking amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna nitpick and look at every single pixel on the ground or something like that. There's still some things going on, with the graphics, but I'll give it that it's plausible to me, like it's still the best looking sim with better performance. So absolutely, absolutely, would happy with that, man. So I give Microsoft kudos 1 year later for that.
100%.
But definitely, but there's a big but because I did upgrade my computer, because I want to take advantage of all that goodness that it has to give. But the next thing we got to talk about though is stability.
Yeah.
And for a flight simmer, one of the biggest frustrations we have is loading up a plane, putting in the FMS, planning your flight, talking to ATC, and boom, crash the desktop.
Mm.
Have they improved on stability since day one? Is it different? Is it the same? Is it worse? Is it better? What are your thoughts on that, man? What are your thoughts on that stability of this thing?
Stability was a nightmare in the beginning. I was personally surprised how horrible it was. I think that, yeah, I give it a plus there again for today. I think stability is a lot better. There are still some crashes to desktop here and there. Personally, I think crash to desktop versus successful flight for me is like probably I don't know, 2 out of 10 loads, maybe something like that,
Right.
which is pretty infrequent versus back a year ago. I was probably getting maybe 4 out of 10 loads. It's like maybe even 5. I wouldn't say half the time, but pretty close. So I think they definitely improved in that area today, and I hope with again, I have personally not had a chance to run Sim Update 6. I have updated, but I haven't run a lot of testing in it, so I don't know how that's going. But kind of in the same area of stability that we're talking about is the updates themselves. While they have been pretty frequent, which I'm very thankful for, I know a few things the community don't like, and one of those is the fact that it forces you to update. Again, kind of referring back to X-Plane, how whenever there's an update, whether it's a beta or actual official update, they don't force you to update. It's like, hey, if you want to stay on this version from 2016, that's fine. Just letting some things might not work out because everybody's working on the newer version, but if that's stable for you, you can work with that. Same with like the Zebo. It's like, hey, I don't want to update the Zebo yet because I don't know how stable that newest version is. So, but with Microsoft, whenever the update comes out, you have to update, and I think a lot of people don't like that about it. And then also the update process has been a complete nightmare. I'm not sure if that fits in stability or not, but I feel like it does. The fact that whenever you have to update, whenever you're forced to update, it's such a hassle. If you have horrible internet like me, it takes you all day for one to update. If you make any mistake here or there, you might have to completely delete and reinstall your whole sim, or you may get crashes. You never know. You have to delete all your community folder. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a hassle. And so on that form of stability, I think it's definitely still like a minus, like way down on the rating scale for me as far as stability. But when it comes to in-game stability and just that, not talking about the updates, upgrades, and things like that, I think they've made a huge leap forward, making it much better today versus last year.
And this is a funny subject on the stability because even just looking in chat right now, it's 50-50 for some people. Some people have zero issues with crash to desktop.
Yeah.
And some people are like, bro, it's been crashing since day one. So, I guess over millions of computers, different installs, different setups, whatever is causing it, I can tell you that I have had a smooth run where there's no crashes after I figure some stuff out. And then all of a sudden, even with my new PC now, I load up on a 5 mile final, boom, crash.
Oh man.
3 flights now I've done it. I've resorted to doing I've been practicing my landings just because I want to see what's causing the crash, removing stuff out of the community folder, removing everything out of it, loading up on a 10 mile final, and I can recreate the crashes, and then it doesn't do it again, and then another time I'll try again, it does it again.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a developer in chat. Felipe says, take this. He says, my take on this is as a developer, stability still needs to be improved by a lot. The developer tools crashes all the time while you're trying to work on the flight model. Didn't even know that. Felipe, good comment, man.
Thank you.
Comment. So I think the crashing thing is 50-50. Now, if we could narrow it down to say, hey, it's the community folder and all the add-ons you're running, or the lack of add-ons, or your graphics is turned up too high or too low, it would be nice, but it's just unpredictable.
Yeah.
You know, I still haven't done a successful flight yet with my new PC with Microsoft Flight Sim.
That's crazy, because you got a freaking NASA computer now. And I'm like, man, you must be just, loving flying through those clouds on your PC now. So the fact that you have such an amazing machine and you upgraded your machine, not, just for Flight Sim, and for you to be getting that, it shouldn't be happening.
Well, it's funny because the handoff god laughed at me. My wife laughed at me. She goes, yeah, you're talking so nicely about Microsoft. You're raving at 2 flights, bro. I was raving like, oh my God. Because I got to tell you, and this is something that, my experience at Microsoft Flight Sim is that the minute you get the right graphics card and the right computer, you have a whole different sim experience.
Oh, yeah.
When it's smooth and running. And that's what happened on my 2 flights. And then all of a sudden, 5-mile final, boom, done. So if there was some kind of crash log you could look at for the game itself, like other games have, it would be nice. It would help you to determine what on your install is causing the issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that would be nice to have.
We need that so bad, because there's so many times that, like you said, you go through a whole flight and you're about to land into a new scenery, old scenery, default scenery, whatever, and it just crashes. And you don't have any idea why that happened. And being able to at least know, hey, this scenery made your sim crash. Just knowing that will be so helpful to be able to uninstall it. Maybe even contact the developer, say, hey, I'm trying to fly into your scenery. It crashes every time, or whatever. And speaking of other developers, which huge shout out to him for giving us that developer perspective, because, I mean, we're talking just as a, first party player, whatever you call it. I don't know. But for developers, I can't imagine how much they go through and they've gone through in the last year, dealing with the SDK and stuff like that. Like, think about how many third-party add-ons continually get broken during these sim updates and world updates and things like that. Like, that's why somebody in my chat was saying they gave up on flying and using all the third-party add-ons, because every time an update comes out, it completely breaks it. It's like, imagine flying your favorite plane or your favorite add-on. You love this plane so much, like all the people who are loving the CRJ, right? Sim Update 5 comes out, breaks it. The plane is unflyable for like 3 months, right? Like, that's ridiculous.
And then this takes me back to your point about the mandatory updates. I call my wife. I'm like, hey, listen, Microsoft dropped an update. Can you update it for me? She goes, yeah, okay. She goes, it says mandatory. You can't choose not to. I'm going, no, you can't. So, what we would do in other sims is like basically say, okay, update comes out. There's some people who wants it right away.
Yeah.
That used to be me too. I want it now. And some guys are like, no, let me hold off and give it a couple days for it to be out so other people can beta test the update for me. Add-on makers can come and change and fix whatever they need to fix, then I'll grab it because I already have a good install. And especially for a streamer like yourself, Blue. You're a streamer and you're relying on these simulators to work for you when you want. And having an update a day before your stream can be a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And you don't have the ability to say, man, you know what? I'll hold off until after my stream tomorrow. I'll have the whole week and I'll iron out some stuff. So that's kind of tough, man. So in that column, for me personally, it's been like 50-50, honestly. But you're saying on your end, you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, as far as you mean good to go as far as stability?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me right now, for the most part, Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good. It's very rare that I do get a crash. Installing, like upgrading, updating, that's where it's a nightmare for me even to this day. I had a really bad experience this year where I had to completely delete and completely start over and reinstall Microsoft Flight Simulator. I mentioned earlier how my internet is not the fastest, even though somehow I stream with it. I don't get it. But my internet is not the fastest. And when I had to
Right.
completely reinstall Microsoft Flight Simulator, if anybody in the chat has, if you feel my pain, give me a face palm in chat, please. But I had to completely reinstall it, and it took. What do you remember what I told you? How long it took? Like legit
Hours.
20 something hours. Like
Yep.
my computer was literally downloading Microsoft Flight Sim. This was not including the world update stuff. And so, anyways,
Right. Right.
yeah, it was a nightmare. So, I mean, like somebody was saying in the chat, it would be better if you could just hit one button, update, and it's just that simple. You know, you don't have to go to a separate application for Microsoft, update it there,
Yes.
and then go update the actual game. But if you don't do it in the right order, then somehow you screw up the whole thing and you got to completely uninstall and reinstall it. Like that is what happened with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Completely agree, man. I had to install an Xbox app,
Yeah.
start the app, close the app to get my download to work. But
Yep.
you know what? They're improving, but that's where we are so far.
But
But the
again,
next thing
before you go
go
there,
ahead.
again,
Yeah.
to kind of wrap up the stability part of what we want to talk about was it is better though now than it was a year ago. I know we were kind of talking about some of the headaches we've
Right.
had, but a year
Right.
ago it
Right.
was much worse. I mean, people couldn't even get the download page to pop up. That's how bad it was. I remember remember release day? Release day,
Yep.
Microsoft. Oh my God, let's not think. You got it was it had to be
True.
the worst game release day ever. Like literally, people couldn't get in. Like the servers were down. I mean, I was very thankful and amazed the fact that how much Microsoft Flight Simulator was able to reach. You know how many people were
Right.
playing and trying to download it. Like that was amazing to me. But the fact that they broke the internet that day, like I think YouTube went down. I'm just kidding. But seriously, like it just basically broke the internet when Microsoft Flight Simulator came out. But again, today I think things are way, way, way better.
Yeah, it's getting there, man. Definitely. But it's funny though. Just Microsoft Flight Simulator on a whole, and this has have been one of my rants, and I still hold fast to it. On the subject of who is it for right now?
Hmm.
We haven't even gotten to the Xbox users yet versus
Nope.
PC users. I think Microsoft Flight Simulator, as of right now, is for GA flyers and GA planes. If you're a two-blinder, you know the feeling right now. Because over the last year, if I can compare how many GA planes Microsoft personally has brought out, plus the community, we're talking about 100% more than for payware IFR planes. I mean, how many GA planes do you know of right now? Even with this new Sim Update 6 and some other things that they're going to be bringing up. First of all, Microsoft is bringing up a racing series for the Reno Air Races, and that's going to bring like 40 new GA planes,
It's
right?
crazy.
Uh, oh yeah,
It's actually
they're
like
bringing
three
out
planes and 40 liveries. Like the way they worded it was like, yeah, come on, they're not giving us 40 planes. Come on now.
right, you know, and they're also coming out with a Microsoft Flight Simulator Game of the Year edition.
Yep.
You understand? With just more stuff. But compare that to the IFR side of things. I mean, CRJ,
You know,
and many in the pipeline.
let me
Many in the pipeline. Let
let
me
me
just say that.
chime in on this. So like I actually like it when this happened. I actually disagree with you a little bit.
Ah,
So yeah.
mhm.
I
Go
actually
ahead.
disagree with
Let's
you a
hear
little
this
bit on
one.
this. So
Right.
most people say it's a GA sim. It's a game. And I understand why you believe that, why you think that, why you think it's only GA VFR, not IFR. And the reason why you say that most likely is because right now, as we're speaking, there's more fun to be had GA than there is IFR, right?
Right.
But here's my thing. I think the reason we think that is because the potential of IFR has not been reached yet. Like
Okay.
this, saying that the sim was made for GA, and I get it because it's beautiful, it's visual. You can fly there, you can do VFR, all that stuff. There's more of GA planes. Why is there more GA planes? Because it's easier to make a GA plane. than to make
True.
a IFR plane. Even the IFR GA planes have not been made yet, really. Like there's a few GA planes with a tiny bit of IFR functionality, you know, in the GNS and mainly the default stuff. But we have the G1000 mod that's come out now by Working Title that's made it a lot better, giving the GA planes the IFR capability. We just need similar thing for IFR, which Fly-by-Wire has been giving us on one plane, right? Because they have the
Right.
expertise, they have the team, they've been getting the resources and the backing to do that one plane. We haven't been getting that in other places. Now, to kind of wind up my topic, is the PMDG 737, the Quality Wing 787, all these big planes, these IFR airliner tube liners that everybody wants. The reason we don't have them yet is because of the SDK. The SDK from release has supported GA planes in more basic, simple functionality, right? Not the complex stuff that we all want. And as the SDK evolves, which it has been, it's still probably not all the way there. Again, I'm not personally a developer. If you're a developer in chat, please give us more insight on this. But I believe the reason why, and we keep seeing in the developer posts, is that, hey, the SDK basically can't keep up with the developer, right? Like the developer has all these things they want to do with their plane and functionality they want to happen, whether it be within the flight model, the terrain radar, whatever that thing may be. And the SDK from Microsoft has not been to the standard that they need to make that plane do the thing they wanted to do. Now, the reason I say I don't think this is a VFR sim, I think that Microsoft fully intends to make this semi-FR, but it's going to take somebody to complete an aircraft to make it seem like it's an IFR sim. You get what I'm trying to say?
No, I fully understand. I think it probably comes down to expectations that were set, maybe in
Yeah.
my head,
Yeah.
right? Because when we saw the preview, we saw all the GA planes were like, oh man, this is pretty. And then we saw an A320,
Yep.
and we saw a 747, and we
Yep.
saw a 787. We're like, yes, I'm spending the top dollar. I'm getting all of this right here from jump. Only to realize that a year later, we literally fly none of those three planes in the actual default state
Yep.
at all. It's almost like there's no joy in flying it. And yeah, if that's coming from a hardcore IFR person who wants the A320 mod, who wants the heavy division mod, who wants the Salty 7 simulation because it just puts more into the plane. It's almost like a GA plane is easier to make. You're absolutely right. And you could just jump in and fly. But when you're looking at a big tube liner, you don't want to jump in and fly. I mean, some people do.
Well, let's
You
think
want to
about
have
this
that
too.
complexity.
Let's think about this too. X-Plane, for specifically X-Plane. I don't know much about P3, but specifically X-Plane, what is the ratio of GA planes to IFR planes in X-Plane?
Good
Think
question.
about that.
I think there's more GA planes also as
Way
well.
more GA planes. They like we all know the 10 big planes, right? That we all like flying on X-Plane, the payword, all that stuff. But if you
Right.
think there's like 50, 100 like GA, they're not all amazing, but they're all like, you know, there's a lot, and they're still even coming out to this day. Cirrus, King Airs, Cessnas of all types and brands, right? On if you go on the X-Plane store, whatever, there's tons of GA planes. You go to the airliner page, there's like one page full, right? And that's kind of like what Microsoft, I feel like once it gets to that point where airliners can actually live in the environment, it's going to be similar. We're going to have like 10, you know, hopefully at least, you know, 10
Well,
quality
here's
airliners and then like a million GA planes.
here's a philosophical question. Do you think for the flight simming community, there are more GA users than airliner users, or is it the opposite? What do you think? I'm actually going to even put a poll in chat for that. For the flight sim community,
I
here's
don't
my
think it'd
question.
be fair, honestly, in
For
your
the,
chat to put because everybody's gonna
that's
vote
true because
airliner
most
because
people
your
just pick
channel
airline.
is all
Well,
about
you never
airliners.
know. you know, you know. But
um,
but I'm just curious to know as for the ecosystem on a whole, you know, I feel like there are just more GA people out there. I really do. Even though we have all this airliner streams and people come in and they love it, but is it more GA stuff? You know, I don't know.
You know, to be
What do you
honest with you,
think?
I
What
don't
do you
know
think?
either. I
Hmm.
many times I feel like when it comes to the flight sim community, not including the real world aviation community, I feel like yes, airliners are have a slight edge, right? Because it's kind of like the thing that you want to fly, but most likely won't ever get a chance to fly. It's more unreachable. Therefore, more people want to watch it, more people want to see it, more people want to try it, and more people want to simulate it. So I personally think that not GA, what do you call it? Airliners is a little bit higher than GA, but I don't think it's like a blowout. I think it's more like maybe 60-40, right? That's what I think. In favor of airliners. That's what I believe.
Interesting. I mean, I guess it's probably the same for all platforms then. But I just because okay, this is the reason why I'm saying this, right? If that's the case, and you have people who want to fly airliners more, why wouldn't Microsoft make sure or come out with? It's easy to come out with GA stuff. Put it that way. You got to get your product out. You want it out, but make a concerted effort to say, you know what, I want to make it easier for IFR developers to come in and drop their stuff in here.
You know what?
Or easier, I don't know. That's my
I
question.
think you just answered the question right there. I think the reason why,
Right.
and I've seen a few people in the chat saying they think that it's because Sobo just doesn't care, or Microsoft just doesn't care. I personally, again, I'm not like trying to back Microsoft, but I just don't agree. Like I
Right.
feel like they do care. I just think that they don't know how, and it's hard. Right? Like the average person, the average developer, it doesn't matter how much you know about aviation, you don't know the ins and outs of these airliners, right? This is stuff that you can only ever learn if you go into get a rating, right, for a 777 or a 73, right? And a typical person at a Sobo or Microsoft is not going to know that. So I'm sure they're trying to figure out, like PMDG, for example, who is this an expert on Boeing aircraft? And they know everything there is to know about all the little systems, how to do this, how to do that. Well, I can imagine them coming up to a Sobo like, hey, I need the this to do that and equal that. And they're like, well, what's that? You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, we know a lot of their team went and got like private pilot license to kind of more understand how to make certain things in the sim, but they're not Boeing pilots. None of them are Boeing pilots. None of them are Airbus pilots. They don't really, yeah, they got a partnership with Airbus to drop the Airbus as default, but they don't really know that plane. And so I feel like one of the reasons why, again, GA has been so concentrated is because, for one, they understand it better. It's a smaller scale of flight model and avionics and things like that. But when it comes to airliners, there's so many little intricacies within the systems, within the flight model, within the way things work on services and whatnot, that it's just more difficult. And I feel like the reason why we have more GA planes, again, is because I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not ever going to say it's easy to make. I can't make a plane for to save my life on any sim. But I think it's just less difficult to make a GA plane at the current state of the sim than it is to make a airliner. If not, we would have had the PMDG 737 last year. If not, we would have had all these IFR planes last year. Now we're waiting to 2022.
So here's a voice in chat, Mr. Two-Tone Murphy. Two-Tone, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. He says, I think GA is better suited to attract new sim pilots, and then they might go for the commercial stuff. With Microsoft Flight Sim, it should be able to offer folks 3 to 4 high-fidelity airliners within the next 6 months. I am hoping so, Two-Tone. I'm actually hoping that within the next 3 to 4 months, man, we get those airliners to calm people like me down. You know what I'm saying?
I was actually,
it's
I got
true.
somebody in chat actually saying that
Yeah.
GA is actually more demanding than flying airliners. And as a pilot, it's actually more demanding to fly GA than to fly like IFR or an airliner. Do you agree?
Right.
I feel like I don't. What do you think?
I think the workload, I was saying to somebody earlier, I think the workload between GA and IFR is like this. GA, you literally jump in, you do a few things, and you get started, and you take off, and you go. But then you're basically hand flying it the entire time, and do navigation if you're not using any kind of GPS stuff. With airliner, once you program up everything properly and you take off, hit the autopilot button, you could literally read chat the entire time and not pay attention to the airplane, and it will fly you 6 hours.
Yep.
So I think the workload is different at different phases of flight. You understand?
Yep.
Real world wise, GA was very demanding on me when I did my introductory flight because there's so much going on. I didn't have an autopilot. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I think just the workload is in different places.
And I think maybe
between
not
the two.
GA versus IFR, but VFR versus IFR. Just in my little bit of virtual experience of flying VFR, like on Pilot Edge specifically, I've always felt that when I fly IFR on Pilot Edge, it's like it's a breeze. As long as you get those altitude restrictions right, you're good. But when you're
Right.
flying VFR, you got to watch out for airspaces because you're not IFR, you're not getting flight following, and you got to watch out for airspaces. If you are flying into an airspace, you got to make sure you're right distance away that you can contact tower or approach or whatever. So this is a lot more I feel like to do as a single pilot when you're flying VFR with a GA plane versus if you're flying IFR in any plane, honestly. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting off subject there, but yeah, I just think, and I kind of backtracking to the original thing you were asking about was, do I think that Microsoft Flight Simulator is a VFR sim today? Yes, maybe, but I feel like they have full intention on making this a sim that you can simulate IFR. It's just that it has not progressed far enough yet.
Well, here's a question. Are they making it a sim for IFR or are the developers making a sim for IFR?
I think I think developers are making it a sim for IFR, but also in order to do that, they have to push Microsoft to make it work for people for them. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Look, the reason why I'm going on about Microsoft the way I am passionately is because it is a future sim. It's got all the ingredients right now when you
Mm-hmm.
look at it from feel, sitting in it and so forth, to be that. We just want to push it along and get there already kind of thing. And I mean, are we there yet? You know what I'm saying? We want to jump in and be able to fly. And I just felt like, if anything I was supposed to say is that perhaps, I don't know, I don't program, but perhaps if they had gotten an SDK earlier or drop with the sim that was actually good, bring some people and say, hey man, we're making a simulator. The GA stuff is going to be good to go, but we need some IFR help for airliners. What do we need to make a proper SDK? I don't know when that process started for them,
Yeah, I think they
because it's
started
been a
late.
year.
I think they started too late.
Exactly.
I think that
Yeah.
they were all bragging about, hey, we're gonna work with the developers, we're gonna work with the community. The first red flag for me was the fact that they were not represented at Flight Sim Expo 2019. That was the
Right.
first red flag for me. Well, not red, maybe like a yellow. Just like, come on, man! Like this is the community you're making a sim for, yet you're not at our event, our biggest event of the year. And again, yet in this year they didn't come again. But kind of like I was maybe a little salty about that. Let me let that go. But
Right.
but I think they started too late. I know they were like, all right, developers contact us, so we can help you and we can develop the SDK. And again, when the sim came out by default, GA was much better. The IFR stuff was just trash. I mean, again, today we were not flying any of those planes because even after all these updates, it's just not to our standard, right? Like, yeah, they've tried to fix the
Yeah.
autopilot and the oscillations and those and all kind of things like that, but it's just not to our standard of a plane we want to fly in our flight sim. Even people who are brand new to flight sim, who don't even know what they're missing, are like, this is better.
Yep. Yep. It's true. If I was supposed to just jump in the simulator now and pick it up with an Xbox and have all these Cessnas and all these GA planes to fly around, I'd be like, what are you guys talking about? This stuff is good already. Look how pretty it is. I see my house. But because you're more seasoned in it and you want the complexity, that's probably the only reason why I'm going on and on about that. But speaking of IFR planes, man, it's been a year.
Yeah.
We have only one IFR plane out. How many more planes are we expecting? Hopefully within the next few months. What are we looking at,
Now,
list
let me
wise?
correct you. One airliner out.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you
One,
can
not,
fly
not
all the
not one
GA
IFR plane.
planes
Yeah,
IFR. I was going to.
true,
Somebody
true,
in
true,
chat should be
true,
like,
true,
what does he
true.
mean, IFR plane?
I know.
Cessna's
Yeah,
an
one
IFR
airliner.
plane.
Yeah, true.
But yes, one. Oh, is it one? Is it just one?
Well, the CRJ, the
Yeah, yeah.
CRJ,
We have one like
airsoft.
airliner-ish plane that came out from Aerosoft, and the next one that coming out was a
Hmm.
Twin Otter for some reason. No one know why they
Right.
decided to do that, but we're gonna leave that alone. Yeah, man. I mean, here's the thing. I think it was before Microsoft came out. PMDG was like, "Yeah, we got stuff coming. Quality Wings early on. Yeah, we got stuff coming." And they really hyped this up, making us think we're gonna get something in the year 2020. This was last year.
Right.
Even GSX, the freaking ground handling thing, which I was really looking forward to. I was like, man, when I got into the sim and saw how trash the ground handling was, I was like, we definitely need these guys. And they have been just silent on the radio since then. Haven't heard nothing from those guys. But yeah, We need it.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Go
yeah.
ahead.
V1 Sim here says, "Amen, Blue. I said that at the very beginning, and people roasted the heck out of me for it. Why the heck not have one or two people at the expo?" That's what V1 says
Yeah, man.
in the chat. It's true. Absolutely true, man. Absolutely true. That would have paid homage to you, show some respect, and just say, "Hey, don't worry, we got you. We're seeing what's going on here,"
The thing that
and so
bothered
forth, man.
me, and I'm gonna let it go for now for this episode, is the fact that they were a week before in the United States at Reno Air Races
Right.
in Nevada, I think in Nevada. So, which is not very
Now we
far.
know why. Now we know why they're Reno Air Race because they are releasing Reno Air Race
Yeah. So
as an add-on package. That's going to cost anywhere between $20 and
I
$40
thought it was
for the
60.
extra airplanes, or 20 and 60.
I
There's like
don't.
a small package, and there's two packages. You can get one or two. I was listening to today, talking about it. A couple of comments in chat. They were saying Microsoft needs to communicate with developers like PMDG about sim updates, because if Microsoft won't add, all the Paraquality airlines will stay broken. Because I know PMDG was developing,
Yeah.
they had the major update, set them back a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think they overcome it already.
Same
You know,
thing happened
I
with
would.
Phoenix.
There you go.
Even though we
Same thing
haven't got
happened
a
with
chance to
Phoenix.
touch these planes are already being broken behind the scenes while being developed, which is
Right.
crazy.
Right. So do we need to I mean, look, when other simulators update, they do break planes too. So
Yeah.
we got to be fair.
Yeah.
Not just Microsoft that does that. But considering that we haven't, we need to get these major planes out because we like them. At what level do you go? You know what? We're not touching the stuff that's already working. Or if we're going to do it, let's at least give it out to the developers, the big developers that are coming out. Let them get a hold of it first, to see what changes are.
Yeah.
I know other simulators do that. It would be nice. It would be nice to show, but I was just saying before, we have the PMDG 7.3, seen pictures of it,
Yeah.
beautiful plane.
Beautiful plane.
Fenix A320,
Beautiful.
beautiful plane. There's another developer making a 220, which I saw an engine shot off, which is great.
Yeah, I saw that.
We saw that one. What else do we have on the horizon for it?
787 from Quality Wings.
Do we know that for a fact? Did they
We
make a
know
statement? Have we seen
that
pictures of it?
they did post. I don't know if they posted pictures. I don't remember. I remember making a
Mhm.
video about it. I don't remember how much details I had, but I know that they did make a statement saying they were working on it for Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Right. I got you. Felipe, who's a developer, says documentation on the SDK still lacks a lot. The overall flight sim development is used to self-learning and trial and error. Problem is that it takes time to do that. So that's why these planes are so delayed coming out, because you're making it as you go, or making it up as you go along, or learning the stuff, which is crazy, man. But look, the future is bright, I think, on that aspect. I will rant and rave about what should have been or could have been, but I think the future is bright. And the future is bright because the airplane add-on makers are having issues. But have you seen the scenery developers? How are they doing, in your
Scenery
opinion?
developers have. There's been a few. There's been probably, I would say personally, and this is no offense to all the rest of the scenery developers, because there's a ton of you out there. But I
Right.
feel like as far as game-changing people who are really pushing the limitations of the sim, there's like 5
Mhm.
of them. I'm talking about using all the things that Microsoft has to offer. I can't honestly think off the top of my head right now. Like, I'm talking about people walking around in the terminal, animations that you haven't seen before. I mean, just next level 3D modeling, things like that, and features that they've really been taking advantage of the new Microsoft possibilities, right? We don't really know what all they can do. I know that I've personally tried to dip into making some scenery just for fun, not payware, but just like some free stuff. And coming from X-Plane, a huge learning curve for developers to figure out. It ain't no joke in that SDK, man. It ain't no joke back there. So I have a lot of respect for people who are making scenery right now for Microsoft, but there's so much of it, and it's coming out every day, every week. We're getting new scenery, and it looks great. The problem for me right now is just my wallet. I can't afford to buy them all. And I honestly thought before Microsoft came out, I was like, all right, well, we're gonna have like this amazing scenery and these handcrafted airports that Microsoft is dropping. But I wasn't really expecting to buy a whole lot of scenery, like Orbix True Earth, stuff like that. And somehow Orbix made a return and brought True Earth back. Like, I was like, I didn't think I was gonna need you anymore. So it's cool because scenery developers are filling the gaps in the scenery that are there. There's a lot of cities that don't have that beautiful photogenic, not photogenic, but the whatever you call it, the 3D
Photogrammetry.
photogrammetry, and people are going in and either replacing it or making their own
Hmm.
3D buildings for free and for pay. So I think scenery developers are killing it right now, despite the limitations. And it doesn't seem like these updates are breaking airport scenery like they're breaking aircraft, payware or freeware aircraft during these updates. So far, I mean, for me, I'm just amazed by what I've seen possible.
Oh yeah, and I'm actually happy that the sceneries are on average cheaper than all the other sims.
Yes.
They're you know the same scenery in one sim can cost $30 and cost 15.99 in the Microsoft Flight Sim. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that maybe because of just scaling and you're getting much more sales from that as a developer, you're able to price it less. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that these sceneries are, I know your wallet is going to burn, but more affordable than what you get in an X-Plane. Because I see an X-Plane scenery like $35, like, whoa.
Yeah.
I got to figure out how many times I'm going to fly to this airport for me to get my $35 back. Am I
Yeah.
going to go there once? You know,
Yeah.
or do I need to just book like 10 flights there just to make, to feel like I've got my money's worth? So,
I'll say right
but
now, it's a hard
that's
life
mhm.
for a flight simmer because especially if you're running multiple sims, you're buying scenery twice now. Like you're like, all
Yes,
right, well, I don't know
yes.
what's like. You're half committed to. You're buying new planes on X Plane. You're buying new aircraft and add-ons and scenery on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now you're paying double what you're paying a year ago. Where you're just like, you're already like, I don't know if I want to pay $25 for a scenery. This year, you're like, I don't know if I want to pay $50 for both versions of scenery. You know what I mean? Because you want to fly into the airport in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but then a new plane comes out and you're like, all right, now I want to fly in there in X plane. I found myself having the exact same. I'm not sure about. I know you play both. I don't know if you had this issue yet, but I've personally been like, do I really want to buy this a second time?
Yeah, it's true. I think I get confused now at this stage. What, didn't I own that already? Oh
Yes.
yeah, you did own it. It's not in Microsoft. You owned it in X-Plane, bro. Absolutely. You know, uh, so what I also love about the sceneries from Microsoft, there's a couple of apps. I mean, a lot of people buy it directly from Microsoft itself. I don't. I buy my sceneries from the different vendors, but there's an app called Contrails that I've been using,
Yes. Love it.
and it has about 6 or 7 or 8 developers in it, and it's just basically automatic updates and automatic downloads into your community folder. It's so beautiful to have. You know,
Yeah.
with Xplane, you gotta drag it from here to there. You gotta have all the libraries to go along with it, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
this stream is not sponsored at all by Contrail, but I want to say you need to get Contrail if you're playing Microsoft Flight Sim. I wish Contrail had X-Plane scenery on it. Honestly,
yeah,
the
man,
way they is
true.
if you have the Orbix direct downloader thing, it's very similar to that. But they kind of promote more developers more. Orbix is just now bringing in partners and stuff like that, which is cool. It has
Right.
the map on there. But Contra does a very similar idea, but I feel like it takes it to like the next step, right? It has like almost all the developers you probably used to seeing for scenery, and you could again, like you said, even if you bought it on a different website, it'll be like, all right, have you bought this before? All right, just put in your activation code. We'll add it to our system. You don't re-download it. You just have it in your system. So now, whenever that thing updates, because most of us don't keep up with scenery updates. I know I don't. They're like, oh, I'm like, what?
Yep.
Atlanta updated again? You know what I mean? So it's like Contrail will tell you, hey, this is updated. Would you like to update it? And boom, it updates it, drops it right into your community folder. You have to go searching for it. Look, it's just super convenient. So again, not an advertisement. I don't know those people. I know I've tried it out and I love it personally.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, man. Because when I got the new computer and start loading up everything again, found it so much easier to load up in Microsoft with all the scenes that I had before versus Xplane. I'm like all over the place, download one by one, drag it and dropping, make sure I have this, make sure I have that, double folders. Just man, it's been a mess. I haven't even done half the stuff I used to have before. So,
Oh yeah.
but
Another one I
but that said,
love. Sorry, I
mhm.
didn't mean to cut you off. Another one I
No,
like
go ahead.
is FlightSim.to, which is
Oh
oh my
yeah.
god, it's like the best thing ever created for flight simming. Like, I can't, I mean,
That is the repository, man.
bro,
Yes.
it started out as just like a place to download stuff, and then they came out with the whole map feature. We can see a map of all the scenery of the whole world. Click on it, goes right to the link, and you can download it. And then now
Really?
it has a mod manager where you can go and check and just click on updated or mods need updating. Click on that, and you can
Hold
see
on.
a whole list that shows all your planes or sceneries that's been updated, and you can update them. Like it's just, man.
I'm bringing that up now. I didn't know about
Did you
its
not
mod
know that?
manager. No, here it is. Hold on.
Did you not know that?
Wow. Look at
Yes.
this. No
Bro.
way, man.
Game changer, bro.
Absolutely
Freaking game
beautiful.
changer.
Look at this. I'm scrolling through it right now.
So
Got a
I
mod
think,
manager.
I
Uh-huh.
think, because a big issue with Xbox, we haven't talked much about Xbox or console today, but a big issue
Right.
with Xbox is the fact that there is zero, not even 0.1, but like zero mod support. It might even be negative, but it's
Right.
like zero mod support at all, which is a big letdown for people who are playing on Xbox because they're seeing our streams. We're flying with these really cool liveries on our planes. We're downloading free scenery and free mods for driving Mercedes around airports and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Freaking jetpack man, stuff like that. And they can't get that on Xbox unless it's in the marketplace. And the only thing that's in the marketplace right now is payware stuff, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it used to be one freeware, which was the Fly by Wire, but they've taken that down
A320,
since.
yeah.
But
Yep.
so the reason I bring it up is because if they could somehow like bring Flight Sims TO into the marketplace, right, and support mods on all systems, that I mean, I don't know if that's possible. Maybe I'm dreaming too big. I say that a lot of times because I do dream too big, but I'm not. I'm not going to
Dream on.
apologize. But still, seriously, like if you could bring in Flight Sim TO into Microsoft natively, that would be the gateway we need that people have been asking for.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. But talk about gateways and talk about sceneries and stuff. Let me ask you this question. Is it me or for all these sceneries, there's at least 3 times as much sceneries done for Europe than for the United States?
Yes.
Why is that? From
Yes.
chat, I want to know. I think most of my audience is in the US. I have a lot of some European audience as well and Australian stuff,
I
but I
think
want to
Europe
know
is asleep right now, so we might not get much representation
why,
over there.
yeah, why is it that there's so much more European sceneries than USA sceneries? Is it because there's more countries in Europe and everybody from those individual countries want their sceneries and US is just one country with different states? But I'm searching for, other than Miami, JFK, Denver, and LA, I can't think of any other US scenery that's like, well, there's Fort Lauderdale too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I somehow feel like I need more sceneries in the US, man. Of
Now,
course, there's San Diego, but it's a handful.
yeah, as a person who lives in the U.S. and obviously would like to see
Mhm.
more U.S. scenery, there is definitely a lack of U.S. scenery, and that's from freeware, payware, and even the sceneries that Microsoft has been coming out with. Like Microsoft has been releasing sceneries. They just announced that in the Gold Edition, I think that's what you call it, the Gold Edition that's coming out in November, that they're dropping like 5 new sceneries in Europe again. Like it's like half of them are like Germany. I'm like, why? If you're gonna
Yeah.
drop more handcrafted scenery that's free for us, like, at least give us some scenery that's like in places of the world that don't have it already, right? Because Europe is so overpopulated, and this is the reason why I personally believe. I really want to know what people think in the chat too. But I think, and actually I know, I'm very confident that I know the reason why there's more scenery in Europe is because the flight sim community worldwide is bigger in Europe.
That's what my chat's saying. My chat is saying the exact same thing. There's just more developers in Europe,
Yeah,
more simmers in Europe.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's the majority
that's
is
that
in Europe.
right. So it's not just me, you know. Shout out to Vertical Sim. Hopefully, we were going to have him on here soon. He's doing a lot of little US sceneries that we wouldn't get if it wasn't for him in Microsoft. and that's a good thing. But yeah, man. So guys, here you go. If you're in chat, you're watching the stream later on. If you want to get into a business that make you some cash, get into developing seniors for the USA, man. And somebody in chat says there's no seniors for Canada. Period.
Ooh,
Canada has no pair with scenery.
is that
Oh my
true?
God. Yeah. So, you
Wow.
know, yeah. So at least we got a few, but Canada's got nothing, man. Not
Wow.
from Microsoft Flight Sim. So if
Wow.
anybody in here with skills in the chat, you want to make some money, here you
Seriously,
go.
there is a
Get into
huge
the game,
gap in the
you know.
market right now that we're pointing out. And if you're watching this show, you're getting the in right now. We need Canada's scenery. Just hit all the major airports. I think there is one for Vancouver. I believe there is a scenery for Vancouver. But
Wow.
outside of that, that's probably it.
That's Vancouver, right, right.
Probably hit Toronto. I don't think there's a Toronto one. That's one of the big ones. Montreal, that's a big one. And then for the U.S., there is a Chicago, there is a LAX, there is a JFK. But I think JFK and LAX are part of the actual base game, so I believe those have already been kind of taken. But they're not horrible, but obviously it could always be better. But yeah, just start looking around the U.S. and Canada and North America as a whole, and even Brazil. You guys don't realize this, but Brazil has a huge flight sim following that has been untapped.
Yep,
I found it. Not to say I'm tapping into it. I'm just saying I recognize it when doing. Hey, you wanna? There you are. I recognize it back when I was doing a mobile flight simming because it's just they kind of match up, right? European
right.
is most popular, obviously, and then there's like Brazil where it's like a ton of people, but not a lot of like developers over there. Obviously the U.S. and in Canada, but yeah, just take advantage of that developers on the scenery side. I'm telling you, if you drop a Charlotte, if you drop a DFW, Houston, a what else we got that's big in the U.S. Las Vegas already came out, which is a great scenery by Fly Tampa. Um, Reno,
Look, I person
you
I
know,
personally will buy almost every scenery in the United States just to
yeah,
be able to
same.
fly. If you notice, I'm going to the same destinations over and over again in Microsoft. You know what I mean? Latin VFR has Fort Lauderdale, Latin VFR has San Diego, Latin VFR has San Juan, Latin VFR has Puerto Plata, I want to say in the Dominican Republic. So there's some Caribbean scenery.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So, we just need more, man. We just need more in the US, man. This part of it. Australia's got quite a few too for
yeah.
Sydney,
Honestly, I feel like Australia is
Brisbane,
better
for the Gold Coast.
Australia is better
Yep,
represented than Canada
it's
and
true, man.
Mexico put together, and probably even better
Right.
represented than the U.S. To be honest with you, because
Yep.
they got all
eh,
the good. They got Sydney, Perth, Melbourne, Brisbane, all these places, man.
Yep. Tyler says Nimbus is supposed to be working on Charlotte, Dulles, and JFK.
Oh, that'd
So,
be nice.
I guess it's just taking longer. I don't know if there's bigger airports here or whatever. It's just taking forever. That's my thing.
I think
There's a
it's
market for it.
again, it's just not as many American developers as there are European. And a lot, what happens is like Latin VFR. I don't know where they're from, but they're probably not from the U.S. But a lot of the people who are making U.S. scenery are not from here, right? They're European. They recognize the fact that there's no scenery for all these major places in the U.S. Like, hey, let me take advantage of that. Maybe I know somebody who could take some reference photos for me. Maybe I got flight benefits and I can fly down there somehow. They just take advantage of it. I'm not saying that if you're European, you shouldn't do it. Because I believe you do a good
Right.
job as well. But I just, I feel like if that's like your home airport and you really love that city, you're not just making an airport for the fact that you're gonna make some money on it. You're gonna put a little bit more love on it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Boston, man. Boston of
Boston. We
all
need
places.
Boston so
I need
bad
a Boston, man.
because
Yeah.
Boston is a major place I fly to an X plane. And when you do multi sim flying and you're like part of a virtual airline, for example, and maybe you want to fly in on X plane and fly out on Microsoft, but you got great scenery on the X plane, you got crappy scenery on Microsoft. You're like, well, dang, now I gotta go somewhere else. But yeah,
Right.
we
Right.
need Boston bad. Whoever
True.
drops Boston is gonna make bank.
Yep. True. Somebody saying Flight Beam Student has IAD, Phoenix, and Denver. I have
Phoenix.
Denver, and I don't have
They
Phoenix.
have a
Really? Is there a
Phoenix.
Phoenix?
I
I gotta
have
take a look at
Denver.
that. That would be nice.
I have
Yep.
Denver. IAD is
Yep.
amazing. Honestly, that's one of my favorite scenery. DCA from Drizwiki is freaking really good too. Uh, so yeah, but yeah, we can
Lightbeam Studios. Let me do some. I gotta do some buying after the stream is over, man.
possibly. I did not know there was a
You know,
fix.
it's true. I did not know that either. So,
Yeah.
lack of scenery is even the same for train sims as weapons factory.
Yeah,
Weapons
don't get
factory,
me
what's going
started
on,
on
man?
that one. Don't get me started on
It's
that
true,
one.
man.
It's not the place. But
Oh
yes, I agree
man.
with you, Weapon Factory.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, well, let's address this. You brought it up earlier. Xbox, Microsoft Flight Sim, 1 year later. How long did Xbox drop now? About what, 4 months ago?
Yeah, something like that.
3 months ago? Any kind of reverberations from Xbox dropping on us here, PC people, that you can think of? Anything at all?
Honestly, a whole Xbox thing has quieted down a lot since it released. It came out with Sim Update 5. Was super hype about it. People got it on Xbox. But my question is, anybody in chat, do you have an Xbox Series X or S? Downloaded Microsoft Flight Simulator and found yourself going back to PC? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing for my chat. Any Xbox users in here who also has a PC? Because at one point I thought that I'd describe an Xbox and see for $500. Is that what an Xbox costs? Because I'm not even sure
I
anymore.
don't know, something
You
like
just
that.
play around. Any Xbox users in chat who use Microsoft Flight Sim that prefer it over the PC because of simplicity of use or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love to know. I
Even,
would
I
love
mean,
to
think
know
about
what
hardware.
they
We
are.
still have not yet got that hardware. I mean, I know it's only been a few months after the Xbox release, but I mean, we know we heard of Velocity 1 from Turtle Beach, which again, if you didn't know, I don't know if anything's changed since Flight Sim Expo. They told me in person saying that they want to have it out before the holidays. So we should
Right.
be very close to that if you want to get the Turtle Beach one. But Honeycomb has also responded with a Xbox compatible version, which I don't know if that's out or when it comes out. And obviously Thrustmaster is coming out
Right.
with a Xbox compatible device as well too. So it's going to be definitely be interesting for Xbox users in the coming months, being able to get their hands on some actual equipment that they can use for Xbox. And I'm wondering if that's going to make any difference. Is the mods a make or break? For me personally, mods would have been a break for me if I didn't have a PC, right? Sorry, if I did have a PC, which I do. If I did have a PC, probably to this day, months after that release, I would still be playing it personally. I know that.
Oh, Power Set basically said it sucks. Power Set, Mr. 777, what's going on, sir? Mr. 777X is in the chat, but he said it sucks. He goes, yeah, it's basic. You get nothing.
Uh,
Like we're used to flightsim.to, as you mentioned earlier. With Xbox, you just get GA planes and you're good to go. Have a
yeah.
nice day. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with GA planes, don't get me wrong, but you don't have the options to upgrade. I was just curious to see, what it is, because it's an entryway to get it, as Two-Tone Murphy said earlier. It's an entryway to get into the simulator.
Yeah.
Then decide, hey, you know what? I need a better experience. I need to get the experience that these guys have here. Let me go over to a PC and get it done. I have Xbox Series X, play it on my 70-inch 4K TV. Now, that's a good reason to have an Xbox. Play it on your big
Oh
screen
yeah.
TV in your living room. Never thought about that.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I have somebody
Yeah,
saying that they've
that
never had one crash with Microsoft Flight Simulator on a Series X. You use a whole task and a mouse, have the same functionality on your PC. So wow,
wow,
so it's
that
definitely a
is
mix.
interesting. It's about cost. Definitely a mix on
And
that.
again,
But
think about it like this: if you don't have anything, right? And we're obviously looking at this from a perspective of we have a PC, we have a running working simulator. Two, we have X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Sim. So if Microsoft doesn't work for us one day, we have an option. We have a plan B. We could rock X-Plane. A lot of people have a plan B for P3D, right? But some people out there don't have anything or didn't have anything. They bought an Xbox specifically to play Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that is their only sim. That is their not only their only sim, but the cheapest way they can get into flight simming as well. Because if you want to
right,
get the same quality, and we talked about this before in past episodes, you want to get the same quality, you're gonna have to pay a lot more money to get Microsoft Flight Simulator to the scale that you want.
that's true. A fraction off the price. I mean, I know. I mean, I just bought a PC and I could have gotten 4 Xboxes with that. Seriously,
Oh
I
my
definitely could have
god!
gotten 4 Xboxes with it.
When you
So
say it like
it's
that, Jesus, you could
it
have
is
got,
true,
and
man.
all you bought was a graphics
Yeah,
card.
they all have exactly. That's my point, basically. You know what I mean? I could have gotten that with it. So,
Wow.
hey, It is what it is. But the fact that we are here 1 year later talking about Microsoft Flight Sim and it's stirring up passions mean that we know that this is a simulator for the future. Now, we haven't mentioned any other simulator in this discussion. We didn't want to. There's so much to go over when that comes out. I'm not even going to even go there and do any comparison because I still have fights in my chat about that to this day. Everybody's got their preferences, you know what I mean? I'm gonna leave it as what it is. But my last couple of experiences, minus the crashes at the end, man, I got to tell you that I was in sim heaven. I literally was in sim heaven, for the first time with Microsoft Flight Sim, and I'm just hoping that they can somehow help or push along or get these high fidelity payware airplanes out for us to fly. You know,
You
I
know what? I
definitely
feel
want
for
to.
you, bro. I feel
Hmm.
for you. I feel for you. I feel for you and a lot of other people who are just like you. When I say that, I mean people who are basically strictly airliner, right?
Right.
Because for people who are strictly airliner, like you don't enjoy anything else. I'm not saying you're against it. I'm just saying you don't get that same satisfaction of flying
Right.
450 knots at 35,000 feet, right? For people like that, like Microsoft can definitely be a letdown or get stale very fast because on Microsoft Flight Simulator, you're only flying the fly-by-wire in various liveries. If you're in the U.S., at limited amount of airports, right? And then obviously we have the 787 Heavy mod. We have the Salty mod, which are definitely great additions, and they're working pretty good. I don't know how they're working now after this latest update, but I know I've had a lot of fun with those. But for people like that, I feel your pain, and I understand why you find yourself going back to your old sim, going back to X-Plane or P30. For somebody like me though, and you mentioned Flight Sim Heaven, I feel like I'm in it now. Even though it's not to all of my expectations, I don't believe that any flight sim is ever going to be perfect. We love X Plane, right? And it's definitely not perfect because if X Plane was perfect, we wouldn't be playing Microsoft Flight Simulator, right? And we would not have been looking forward to it coming out and fixing all the problems. Vulkan didn't
Yep.
make X Plane perfect back when they were promoting
Hmm.
that. X Plane 12 is not going to be perfect either. It's going to be, some of the same growing pains. But right now, I think it's important to kind of appreciate what you have now, find out what you enjoy in a flight sim, right? Like if what you enjoy in a flight sim is on X plane, then fly X plane. Buy all the planes, buy all the scenery on X plane, and get your sim, whatever platform that may be on, to a point where you feel happy and satisfied with getting from A to B or whatever type of flying you're into. For me, I like both GA and airliners. So I tend to not get stale because I find myself bouncing between not only different aircraft, but different types of aircraft from all sizes, all shapes, fast, slow, whatever. Sometimes I'm in a mood to do some bush flying at literally 30 knots. That's hella slow. Like boats go that fast. But so I get in the mood to do that, and I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy doing bush flights or using Neo Fly. We haven't talked about that. One of the greatest third-party career mode add-ons been created since Microsoft came out. So being able to use that and do firefighting, deliver passengers. We didn't talk about helicopters either. Helicopters is something we still have not gotten support for in Microsoft, and they're talking about it's not going to happen until 2022, and yet we got amazing people in our community who have found a way to make multiple helicopters work in the sim. But yeah, as a person like me who loves all different types of aviation, helicopters, GA, high wing, low wing, rotor wing, and airliners as well, I find myself well-rounded and enjoying all the content available right now. But obviously, I still yearn for more. I still want more. I still want to be able to fly that 737 realistically on Microsoft Flight Simulator, the 777. But I know I'm not going to get that right now, right? We're waiting. We're getting impatient. But if I want to fly a Zevo 7 or a 737 quality 737, I go back to X Plane because, like I said, my X Plane right now is at a point where I enjoy it. I like it. I might have to turn my settings down a little bit, but it's okay. I have it to a point where I enjoy flying the planes that I have. So I am very picky when it comes to buying new ones because I already have a setup that I enjoy. And on Microsoft, I have a decent setup that I enjoy as well. I got scenery. I know the planes that I can fly that I'm going to enjoy. I know the planes to not fly because they're going to break. You know what I mean? The 747. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of like, I guess to kind of wrap up that thought that I had was just to kind of fly what you enjoy. And if Microsoft doesn't have the IFR capability you want, go to your other sim.
True. We got the choices. You're absolutely right, man. We do have that choice. You says, yesterday I drew for the classic 733 in X-Plane. Had a wonderful time, man. It was like beautiful.
Yeah.
The only thing, the weather was reloading on me like crazy, but other than
Oh,
that, like it was like a perfect flight start to finish. So I love that. But tomorrow I did update to Sim Update 6.
mm,
I have been doing some final approach testing on it. I probably had 2 crashes out of 10, removed some stuff out of my community folder. So tomorrow I am going to be flying that 787 in Microsoft. I'm going
sweet.
to be flying that tomorrow. And so I got my fingers crossed. I have my route already set. I'm going to do Atlanta to Miami. So I've done some 10-mile approaches into Miami. Haven't had a crash yet. So
Nice.
fingers crossed, man, because the smoothness of it now, the smoothness of the sim itself, the look, the feel, the no weather reload, just gets me every time. You know what I mean? It's just beautiful. So I'm hoping to complete my first flight with this new rig that I have tomorrow on it and give it a shot. So I gotta say, yeah, I mean, all in all, 1 year later, it is heading in the right direction.
Hmm.
Painfully slow for me, but that's just me. I'm
Yeah,
impatient.
XP
I
don't like
want what
low
I
and
want.
slow, and Microsoft been updating low and slow.
It's slow, exactly. So the 1 year for me for Microsoft Flight Sim, it's coming along. And I think what has helped me is that I did temper my expectations from the first cinematics that I saw. I've yet to see those birds, by the way.
Bro,
That
remember the conversation we had?
Yeah,
Me, you, HD, now known as Phoenix J Aviation,
right,
Geo. We talked before release, and I was like, guys, you guys like ganged up on me? Because I think of the group, I was one of the only, it was me and one other guy were the only ones who were
right.
like in alpha. I can say this now because I'm not under a freaking embargo. But back then we were the only ones who had access to the alpha or the beta. Actually, I had both. And you were like, "All right, tell us the truth. Is it good?" Like I remember you guys ganged up on me on this group phone call. This is before the BluXPerience, and I was like, "So what's your honest thoughts?" And I was like, "All right." I was like, "What did I say?" I said, "Mind your expectations."
True, you did. Yes,
That
you
was the
did.
main
You
thing
did
I
say
said.
that.
Mind your expectations because it's a great sim, but that depends on how high your expectations are.
Yep, you did say that.
And
You
even
absolutely did
still
say that.
today, I believe the same thing. If you're thinking about getting into Microsoft, maybe you've been kind of watching the scene, hanging out on FSX. Market, you're hanging out on P3D, hanging on X plane. You're like, you know what? I don't think it's ready. I don't think it's ready. Well, if you do decide to get into it, just mind your expectations because what you see in people's live streams, what you see in the trailers, may not be what you're expecting, right? So, and I still, even to this day, still believe that Microsoft Flight Simulator is in beta.
Hmm. I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is in beta for a game that's been sold on multiple platforms and they're actually doing add-ons to it already. It's still in beta. It feels like a beta. You know what I mean? So,
Would we think any
we're just gonna have to
differently?
bear with it.
Would we think
Hmm.
any differently if Microsoft came out and released the product we're playing now as an early access, public early access game? It's very popular, like on Steam, for example, for a game to come out and put early access on it, right? Part of it's marketing, part of it's to try to raise more funds to continue to develop the game. But it's basically to a point where, like, hey, well, people can enjoy this version, but there's a lot more that I want to do to it. So, like, what if Microsoft would have been like, hey, it's good. It works, but it's not what the community is expecting, which they wouldn't know that because they didn't know that. But let's just release it as Microsoft Flight Simulator early access until 2022. Would we look at
Yeah,
it any differently than we look at it now?
I would because it's early access. Like, yeah, once you put that label on it, it is early access. I would still go get it. I would still spend my money. I would still buy it, but at least I know, you know what, this is something that they're flushing out. They're ironing it out. So I'll cut them some slack on there.
The thing
But
about early
as a,
access is
Mhm.
that when you come out with that 1.0 version, that release version, there needs to be a dramatic like change or it has to get better dramatically. Kind of like again, like I feel like Sim Update 5 was similar to coming out of early access because of how good the performance was. It really made things a lot better in a lot of areas of the game. Um, it was bumpy still. That update was bumpy. It broke a lot of stuff, but at the same time, it just felt like as far as all the updates we've gotten, is the most significant update we got was Sim Update 5.
Right. Yep, it was. It actually changed the stutters went away, and you were able to enjoy the game more. At least on my end of it, because with my graphics card at the time, it's like, yeah, I could see this. This is nice, man. So um, it would have, but I guess I don't know how. This is the first game I've had where it's released, and a year later we're still fighting bugs and updates. I'm used to just having a game on a disc and a CD or whatever and download it, and it's good, and that's
Mm.
it. You get it. But I guess a world simulator is that much more complicated to where you just can't have everything you want all at once. Perhaps.
I have
You know what I mean?
one more question. On another angle of this Microsoft 1 year later, what do you think about Microsoft Flight Simulator as a streamer 1 year later?
Ah, good question. Huh. Huh. I had a streak there where it was just doing its thing, and I literally ran Microsoft for like a whole week, no explain, right? Just Microsoft. Now, what got to me after a while, it was basically the same plane.
Mm-hmm.
It was the A320 mod, and as good as it is for a freeware mod, I was like, I need something else. I need variety,
Yeah.
right? So that's take number one. It just doesn't have the variety to hold me more than four streams back to back to back
The
until I go,
variety,
I need something else.
airliner wise.
Airliner wise, right? And that's just from my perspective.
Right.
I know Two Tone Murphy has his GA streams, and he's got a whole bunch of guys flying with him,
Yep.
and they can do so many different destinations, so many different airplanes to choose from, and it's great for him. So, and he's a streamer, and that works, and that's awesome. You know what I mean? But for me, the variety isn't there. I used to be a little bit iffy about the stability of it. There's also a period there where the stability was completely fine. No had any issues at all. I can complete a flight from A to B. I think this was after Sim Update 5 came out. It was just smooth sailing. But then I did a whole reinstall, and all of a sudden the stability is not there for me anymore, which I just got to check a whole bunch of stuff and see. So as a streamer, it's 50-50. You go back to that old pair of jeans or something that it's broken in already. The knees worn out, whatever. It doesn't look as crisp and new, but it's comfortable, right? With Microsoft, it's the new shoes you get that you kind of have to break it in a little bit for it to like get comfortable in. You know what I mean? And it's still not there yet. So I wish I would look honestly. I probably would be playing Microsoft Flight Simulator more if I had maybe 2 or 3 planes that I can just trust and jump in. I
Yeah.
probably would be, because it's so visually stunning. It's so beautiful.
You know
You know what I mean?
what's
So,
crazy is that in the last year, like when not flying Microsoft Flight Simulator, I have literally mainly majority only flown 2 planes on X-Plane, and that is Zebo 737 and like the Tolus 19 or 21. Like it's like the 2 planes. So think about like if you had a Boeing on Microsoft Flight Simulator to be that other alternate, then maybe you could spend more time on the platform because you have at least one more plane that you can fly, over and over and
yeah.
over and over, especially if it's a good quality. So I agree. And another kind of thing to continue that question for the angle of Microsoft Flight Simulator as a streamer, what about the community and even the numbers? Like, I mean, it was crazy, right, when it first came out. Like, how was that comparing to today?
Mm. Just say that question. Repeat that question one more time. Think about my
Basically,
answer.
numbers wise, how is streaming
Mm.
Microsoft Flight Simulator today versus when it came out?
Oh, I mean, it absolutely makes a huge difference. When Microsoft came out, the numbers like doubled and tripled. Like, you have to admit that as a streamer, it brought so much more people to the community. It brought so much more people watching live streams and want to be a part of it. But a funny thing happened, though. You want to hear the funny
Oh
thing?
yeah.
There was a period when we streamed Microsoft Flight Sim so much and we had the audience so much, we were afraid to go back to X-Plane because we were afraid that the audience is going to go back to like two, you know?
Yeah,
But everybody stuck around and
yeah,
everybody was interested in seeing, hey man, what plane is that? Where can I get that? Is that Microsoft? It's not? Okay, what is it? What is X-Plane? What is, whatever. And they stuck around because
yeah,
now these are true aviation people. They
yeah,
kind of overlook what sim you're flying and just looked at at the plane you were flying and see if this plane was interesting or not.
yeah,
So that's what happened. The numbers
yeah.
went up, but people stayed because it was flying, period. It
Yeah,
was flying in general.
I think
So
that,
yeah,
and I'm not taking this on me or even on you, but I think flight simmers, people who are streaming flight sim and not just Microsoft Flight Sim, I think that we converted the new people into flight simmers and not just
right.
Microsoft Flight Simulator fans, right? Because a lot of people first jumped on because they were curious to see, all right, what is this thing that Microsoft and Xbox are promoting? What is this thing, right? And then, like you said, when there came a point where you're like streaming Microsoft so much, you're like, well, I'm trying to ride this wave, right? Because it's a trend, right? And you want to take advantage of that trend as a content creator, but at what point can you switch to the old dog? You know what I'm saying? The old system, put the old jeans back on, and are people gonna still support you over there? And the cool thing was, honestly, at first it was a little bit of fall off there, but at the same time, the people who really were into flight simming, and not only into flight simming, but also into you, right? Into me, into us, into the person, were like, yo, like I like this person, I like this. I don't care what sim you're flying on. You can hop on P3D and I would watch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of people you want following your channel. And I know we're kind of getting onto like a streamer thing, but like we're streamers, and I got to talk about this side of it as well. But kind of to answer the question as well, I agree. Back when Microsoft Flight Sim came out, there's a massive just global trend. It didn't matter how big or small your channel was, you were getting affected by the fact that so many more people were interested in this hobby. And so we all saw whether you're doing live streams or you're putting out videos, you saw a big wave in it. And then after the hype died down, it obviously dropped down. But some people were obviously able to stay a little bit higher than others, stuff like that. But just how any trend goes. Similar thing happened when Xbox dropped. It wasn't
Right.
as big as a wave as when it first came out, but it was kind of like it was pretty high there too. So it's very interesting watching those trends and waves and seeing how that happens for streamer and internet and stuff like that. It's just really interesting to watch. So I definitely felt it as well, and I ended up. I think one of the reasons why I went back to X-Plane was because I just got fed up. Like it came a point where Microsoft was, I don't know what update it was. It was
I
probably
remember
every
watching your
update.
stream.
It was just there was just so many times I was like, man, I remember doing a long haul. I think I was
Oh
probably
yeah,
my
I watched it. And your
it's
frames kept dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping
yes.
till it just paused on you and that was it.
Yes,
So,
it just
you know,
came down to the fact that it became so unstable and unpredictable that I couldn't take it. So I'm going back to X-Plane, and I
yep.
wasn't like I was permanently going back, but I was like I'm gonna mix in a lot more X-Plane than I was before. People are still gonna enjoy the flight simming, and the crazy thing too as well was the fact that not only I'm not saying that I did this. I'm saying that the community did this. All the streamers started to go back to X-Plane. I remember somebody asking me, I was either in a comment or something one day, like, "Hey, so why are all the streamers going back to X-Plane?" I was like,
Well, th- well, this will tie it over. There's a comment in chat. Doctor on board made a very interesting comment, and I actually want to read it.
"Go ahead."
He goes, if you talk about variety in Microsoft Flight Sim, he said Microsoft Flight Sim now has the 787 Heavy Division mod, the CRJ, the Salty 747, the A330, the DC-6, and soon PMDG. Doctor on board, that's a very interesting comment, and let me pick it up and say this. It brings this question. When you have a good working 747 in another simulator, do you prefer to provide a half working one in Microsoft Flight Sim or go back to the one that's fully working? Um, Same thing with the 78, same thing with the A330. If you have already good working A330, or let's say you have the PMDG 737 in P3D, for instance, but Microsoft Flight Sim has one that's barely working. Do you prefer to fly the one on Microsoft that's barely working because it's prettier in that sim, or do you prefer the one that's fully functional? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's like when you have a choice between planes and there's one that's already working in another sim, and you have the new sim that looks better, but the plane is half working, I do find myself kind of cringing at the new sim for some reason.
Mm.
You understand? Like I love the 787 heavy division mod because it made the default plane functional. But when I go into overhead and I click ground power and all the ground power lights up and it's three separate switches, it's like, okay, it reminds me that we're not there yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I go to the air conditioning panel and all those switches are already selected and I can't click them, so you're kind of taking away my immersion
Yeah. I was about
from
to
what I'm
say
looking for.
it's an
You know what I
immersion
mean?
breaker.
Right. So that's the reason why I said Microsoft only has one decent plane to fly. Well, actually, two: CRJ and the A320 mod. You understand? Those are like really good. It's because the other planes that they have, there's a better version of it in a different sim,
Yeah.
and that's when you overlook how good looking the sim is for something that's more functional. Then you know what I mean? That's the only thing
Until
I would comment on that.
until you
Go
get in
ahead.
the air and you're cruising and all you can do is look at that bird. Man, when I flew that
True. Right.
A330 Neo, that thing ain't work for crap.
Right.
But when I got to cruise,
Right.
I was just like in awe. I was just, it was just so good. I was like, as long as this plane will stay on the autopilot and I ain't gotta touch you, and I could just look at you, I'm having a good time. But yeah, I agree. It's whenever and again, it kind of comes because we have this history from another sim, right? And we got to remember there's some people out there who don't have a history with another sim. Like they don't
Yeah.
know that the air conditioning panel is something you should have to click on, right? They don't know that the pack shouldn't always be on when you're starting the engine. It's like stuff like that. That again, I try to put myself in their shoes and think like, what if I didn't have the planes and the knowledge that I had before? Would this be immersion breaking? Would I be just happy to turn the landing lights on or the seatbelt signs on? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, so I agree. I think there's just different levels of flight simming and simmers
Yeah.
and what they want. But I agree with you. I'm in the same boat with you. Is like whenever I look up to the top panel of that 747 or 787 and I can't click all the buttons, I'm like, man. Or when it takes 5 seconds to start a 747, it ain't there. It is not a vibe, man. But
I know. I know. Look, but I'll tell you though, one thing that I love with Microsoft Flight Sim, bro, and once I got used to it, the drone cam, and
mm,
once I bought an Xbox controller, I find myself searching for a drone cam in other sims and it just doesn't work, man. The drone cam in Microsoft Flight Sim is one of the best things for cinematic, my friend. And you
you,
know that
you know, I
because I
hated
saw
it.
you do it first.
I hated it when I first back in alpha. I
Really?
hated that camera. That was my first complaint about Microsoft Flight Simulator was a camera because all I wanted was a camera that worked just like X-Plane and X camera. That's what I wanted because that's what I was used to. And then I found like this forum post that said, "Hey, use a controller for your drone camera," and had all the mappings like listed. I was like, "All right, let me
Right.
copy this to my notes." So I had a PlayStation controller at the time, so I manually mapped all the buttons to my PlayStation controller, and which took forever. It was not fun, but it was definitely worth it. Because after that day, I was able to get those beautiful cinematic shots you see in the trailers, and it was a game changer. Later on, as you can see, I got an Xbox controller, so a lot of these things are already mapped by default, so I don't have to actually do anything extra to it. But yeah, it's
Wow.
that
Wow.
drone camera. Once you know how to use it, it is it is the whole game.
Well, is it only streamers who use the drone cam, or like everybody who just regularly flies use it
I
when you're
don't
outside
know.
a plane?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I really don't
yeah.
know.
Is it only us for cinematic shots, or does it? What do you guys do? Do you guys use the drone cam at all in
Yeah.
Microsoft Flight? And when you guys play in chat, let me know. Let me see if you guys use the drone cam at all. I'm curious now because for us, an opening shot or a flyby shot or whatever shot you want, the drone cam is just legit, man.
Yeah,
I wish the X-Men would implement that.
if I
It is
didn't have
good.
a drone camera, like if my drone camera for some reason doesn't work, I'm not using the camera at all. I'm gonna be in the cockpit the whole time. I'm not gonna use it. So yeah, I like
Wow,
it a lot.
wow.
What are they
I hear
saying?
you.
Yeah, they
And
use it.
they use a drone cam. They use it a lot. Wow. All loving, admiring our birds. Yep, there you go. Microsoft brought me in, and I found Explain after. Like, okay,
You
cool.
can
Nice,
use
John.
the drone camera without like a controller. You can use the numpad and stuff. You just gotta
Yeah,
learn
I
the
used to do that,
buttons.
and It's a pain. It's a huge difference. Everybody uses drone cam, man. It's good.
Nice.
Sometimes I go outside just to see, except you can't control the plane when you're in drone cam
You
view.
can.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, you can.
You can, or
Pro tip:
how?
press the C key.
Really?
Yes. If you press C
Ah.
while in the drone camera, you can actually use the plane as normal. But you got to make sure you press it again, or you'll always be using it. So
Okay.
yeah. So
I
basically,
got you.
C is
I
a
got you.
toggle switch. So like while you're in the drone camera, you can be like set up on a view or whatever, and when you press C, you can actually like roll left or hit autopilot, drop the gear, whatever it is you want to do. Hit C again, and you go back into drone controls.
Interesting. All right. Didn't know that. Didn't know that.
And another
Let's turn
pro
it
tip.
into. Go ahead.
One
Go
more.
ahead.
This is one I don't talk about much, but I think it's really cool. Like, how we really miss out on those flyby views on Microsoft Flight
Right.
Simulator, which I wish there was one by default. What you can do is actually, while in the drone camera, press tab. Yeah, press tab, and it will actually unlink the drone camera from the plane, and you can kind of make an artificial flyby or drive-by camera. But make sure you
Huh.
hit tab again, or your plane will be lost forever.
Let's turn this into a learning session now because my reverse doesn't work anymore in the 787.
Really?
I had a switch for reversers, doesn't work anymore. It
Oh,
doesn't toggle the reverse, doesn't hold reverse. Both don't work. And I was like, what the heck happened? Is it the update? Is it the mod? So
I have
anyway,
not flown the
somebody
seven
said
eight.
yeah. Somebody said we need a chase plane for Microsoft Flight Sim. But also we haven't talked about the big thing, man. They drop replay in developer mode. There's a replay in
Well, is
developer
there
mode now.
one now, or is there going to be one?
Yes. No, there's one now in
Like
developer mode. I
right
could be
now.
wrong.
Like if I
I
load up
see.
Sim
You know
Update
what?
6,
All right. I gotta double read this to make sure.
I
Developer
thought that
mode is
was
bringing
coming out
replay.
with the next Gold Edition update
Oh, I
in
see. Okay, so
November.
I might have missed it. I might
I
have
don't know.
read
That's what
that
I
too
thought I
much
read.
in my excitement, for getting a replay mode because that would be awesome, man. Hmm. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
replay mode I think is
those are the
coming in
things.
November in developer mode. No idea how
Right.
that's gonna work, so we will have
But
to see.
yep. But
But yeah,
guys, that's it. That's any did we miss anything, Blue, by the way?
I don't think so.
I think we've covered it all. A year from now, what are we going to be talking about? All the glorious add-ons that we have from
Let's
Microsoft and
hope
payware
so.
airplanes. Is
Let's
that what we're
hope
going to be
so.
talking about?
I hope
Hmm.
within a year from now. I mean, yeah, you know me, I'm a dream big. I want everything that's been promised. I
Right.
want the promised land a year from
You want the
now.
promised
I
land.
want the promised land. I want my PMDG 737. I want my what
Right.
I do believe, and let's see if I can call it, the
Hmm.
secret 737 project that might exist
Nice.
somewhere out there. Again, I don't actually know. I'm just saying that I feel like there's so much hype around the PMDG 737, and they're taking so long that there could be someone else that's like, hey, well, I'll make one too
Right.
for free.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm just, I'm just,
Yeah, exactly.
high hopes.
Exactly.
But yes, I'm
Exactly.
hoping for the
I've
promised land.
seen some shots of a 737 that's supposed to be coming out freeware, but I can't say any more than that. We'll see what happens. But it is good, man. Absolutely good. But guys, again, it's a year later and we're still talking about it. That means that it's got our attention and we're here and we're here to stay. I mean, I didn't update my computer for X-Plane. I updated my computer for Microsoft Flight Sim. So I am looking forward to flying this thing. Even night flying, man. Just, yeah, boy.
Oh man, yeah.
You can go there. But anyway, yeah, that's I appreciate you guys hanging out with us for this, man. Blue, what are you doing tomorrow? Anything for the weekend? What's coming up for you?
I don't even know, bro. I was supposed to stream today, and
Right.
X-Plane gave me the runaround, so that didn't happen. I really wanted to too, because it was my day off from the airport. Tomorrow I am working at the airport, so I don't know
Right.
if I'll get a chance to actually stream. I might be able to sneak a bonus weekend. We'll see. I doubt it, but I hope I do. So if not, I'll be back next week. But yeah, that's what I got going on. It's really unknown of what's happening in 24 hours.
Wow, gotcha, man. Yeah, tomorrow for me, as I said, I'm gonna do Atlanta to Miami. Atlanta, Miami, 787 American Airlines. We're gonna make Microsoft work for us. We're gonna love it. Did a couple of approaches, seem to be working now. We'll see what happens. Saturday, I have an event, Microsoft Flight Sim again in Europe. In Munich, there's a Munich event going on, so it's gonna be an early stream for all you European guys, and that's gonna complete the week for us, man.
Man,
and then we're
Munich
back
has a lot of
on Monday.
events.
Yes, they do.
They have one like every
So-
Wednesday.
Absolutely. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about sounds because Berta was saying sounds for him. Sounds is the main thing. You know,
Yeah.
remember that promise sounds that we got from Microsoft saying they used how much recordings and all that stuff? What happened to that, man?
You know, I do remember that. I remember like watching a whole sound recording video about how they did the TV. I mean, honestly, the planes that they did sounds for
Right.
in that video do actually sound good. Like I do believe the TBM sounds pretty good.
Nice.
And a few of those planes that they like the Cessna sounds great. I think personally, in my opinion, I think the default Cessna 172 and 152 sound amazing. And some of the other GA planes sound good, but when it came to the airliners, the 787 didn't sound horrible. The 747 sounds pretty bad, and the 320 much to be desired. Obviously, the fiber wire mod is probably the best. It is the best sounding.
Yes.
A320
Yes, it is.
ever made in a
Yes,
flight
it
sim,
is. For real.
ever. I think I even heard somebody else, another streamer, mention that too, because I now personally work around A320 Neo specifically, and that thing sounds exactly like it when you do the engine start. And I complimented the developer. I was like, man, I don't know how you recorded this, but you definitely captured the essence of what a A320 Neo sounds like.
Right. Got you, man. Wow, it does sound good. I love that howling engine sound. You know what I mean? I don't know how they did that.
You know, one thing
stuff,
that is actually missing though, and I noticed it recently working at the airport, is when the engine starts. I don't know if this happens on the Neo. I gotta listen again tomorrow. But in the CEO version of the engine, I'm not sure if it's the IAE or the CFM. I don't know. But right when it ignites, there's a boom. Like it's kind.
You can actually hear it.
You can actually hear
Really?
the igniter go boom, and then it goes boom. I just noticed it
Really?
last week, and I was like, wow, I've actually never noticed
That's
that.
like me at work playing with a gas thing and a lighter.
Yes.
Interesting.
You literally
Oh,
hear
wow.
it ignite, and if you're close enough to that engine, you hear it. You won't hear it from the cabin. You only hear it outside.
But on the outside. Gotcha.
Anyway, I don't
Interesting.
go too much in that. I've talked about sound for hours, man.
Well, I know, man. You got the best job in the world, brother.
Oh, I love
awesome,
it.
man.
I love it.
Definitely.
Check me out on Instagram story if you want to see more of my
There you
rap
go.
life adventures.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to keep you guys any longer. Thank you so much for hanging out with Blue NXP on the BluXPerience. We are actually so happy to bring you guys this stuff every Thursday. We have some lineup coming up of some guests coming up that you guys are going to want to hear from. And we just can't wait for them to come, But it's believe me, but we're behind the scenes. We're working on some stuff for you guys, man. And thank you so much for hanging out.
Can I say two more things about the 320?
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Just two more things I noticed. Also on the Embraer, I wish I would have knew this when we talked to what's his name, X-Craft, a few weeks ago.
Right.
But I noticed in the 320 on the gear, and only people who work around the real plane, probably pilots will even know this. On the gear, on the actual nose gear, there's a light that comes on, an orange light that comes on when the parking brake is on.
Really?
And it turns
so you
off.
could signal to the ground crew so you don't break the pin.
So it kind of like so the people on the ground know if that parking brake is set based on if that light is on or not. And the same thing happens in the Embraer E175, I think. It's a different color light, but similar. I noticed it the other day. And last thing is on the 320, not the Neo. I don't remember if it's the IAE or CFM. I don't really know the difference yet. But when the engine spools down, particularly the left engine number 1, you actually hear like this scratching sound in the engine. And it's not just one plane. I've heard it on multiple planes. It kind of sounds like it almost sounds like the blades are scratching.
Scraping sound.
As they're just
because those blades stretch.
Yeah.
They control the heat and different things like that. That's probably what you're hearing.
So while it's like just kind of like spinning, like when it's done, when it's just spinning, the engine's off, it's just spinning. You kind of hear. I only hear it on the left engine. So again, if you're developing a 320, please take that feedback because I think that would be
walking out with a microphone.
Such a cool, tiny little detail to catch. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. That's for a stream conversation.
Man.
But yeah, man.
He
Thank you guys.
For like 30 seconds there.
I know.
Nice.
Thank you guys for coming through and watching the BluXPerience.
Oh man,
we've
awesome,
had a lot of fun
guys.
talking Microsoft Flight Simulator. Again, like you said, we have lots of guests lined up as well. And if you're interested in being on the show or whatever, or supporting in any way, we're always open-minded to that stuff. But anything else before we leave, XP?
No, that's it. What was your famous words again? There's 3 choices. You could go ahead and finish the rest.
I want you to say it. Can you
I think
remember
I
it?
should know it by now. Give up, give in, or give it all you got. There you
There it
go. I
is.
got it. There it is.
Peace,
My man
love, and
Blue.
God bless you. We will see you guys next time. Next video. Run the track.
Run the track. There you go. Awesome,
There it
man.
is.
Okay, one guy.